Story 1. My name is Caleb Morrison. From the moment my adult teeth came in, they were a disaster. Crooked, overcrowded, and painful. I ignored the warnings for years, pushing off the inevitable until I was well into my late 20s, long after most people have their wisdom teeth yanked out in their teens. When I finally scheduled the surgery in a quiet, suburban clinic outside Portland, Oregon, I had no idea it would unleash a nightmare that still haunts me. The extraction was brutal. 4 impacted teeth, swollen gums, and pain that no over-the-counter pill could touch. The dentist prescribed heavy-duty meds, alternating between 2 strong ones, and warned me the recovery would be rough. Rough didn't cover it. The throbbing was so intense that sleep became impossible without timing doses perfectly. I set alarms every 3 hours, dragging myself awake in the darkness to swallow another pill, then collapsing back into uneasy rest. Those fragmented nights wrecked me. My body adapted to the cycle, and even after the swelling went down and the stitches dissolved, I couldn't shake the habit of waking at odd hours. I felt detached, like a ghost drifting through my own life in our secluded home, nestled against a dense pine forest in the Pacific Northwest. One sweltering summer night, about a week into recovery, I woke at 3:47 a.m. for my next dose. The room was stifling. The old air conditioner had given up, leaving the air thick and heavy. I tossed for what felt like forever, sweat soaking the sheets, before finally cracking open my bedroom window for some relief. A faint breeze slipped in, carrying the scent of damp earth and evergreens, but sleep still evaded me. Lying there in the suffocating quiet, I began to notice a faint sound outside, rhythmic, deliberate scratching, like claws raking across wood. At first, I dismissed it as a squirrel or raccoon. We'd had plenty of those pests over the years, but the noise grew insistent, shifting directly overhead, as if whatever was making it was crawling across the shingles above my room. Curiosity mixed with irritation pulled me from bed. My parents would lose it if another critter chewed its way into the attic. We'd spent thousands fixing damage from a squirrel infestation years ago. Groggy and aching, I stumbled to the garage, grabbed my father's powerful LED flashlight, and slipped out the back door into the cool night air. My bedroom faced the rear of the house, where the roof line dipped lowest. I aimed the beam upward, sweeping across the dark shingles. Nothing, just shadows and the occasional glint of dew. I circled the house slowly, gravel crunching under my bare feet, scanning every angle. Frustration built as the scratching seemed to have vanished. Then near the front gable where the roof soared higher, something moved in my peripheral vision, a subtle shift against the moonlight. I snapped the light toward it and felt my stomach drop. Perched on the peak, silhouetted against the starry sky, stood a naked man. He was motionless for a split second, caught in the harsh beam like a deer, skin pale and glistening with sweat. Then he recoiled, shielding his face as if the light burned him. I screamed, an involuntary, primal sound that shattered the night. He bolted, moving with impossible speed across the uneven roof, bare feet somehow finding perfect purchase on loose tiles. Pure adrenaline overrode sense. I sprinted around the house, yelling for my father, desperate to cut off his escape. By the time I reached the back, he was already at the edge above my window. Logic screamed that no one could survive that drop onto concrete pavers below without breaking legs, but he leaped without hesitation. The impact was sickening, a heavy, wet thud that echoed through the yard. I froze, expecting cries of pain, but he rose instantly, unnaturally fluid, and charged straight at me. Before I could react, he slammed into my chest, driving me to the ground. His fingers clawed toward my face, nails raking skin, hot breath reeking of rot and madness. I thrashed, kicking, screaming, feeling warm blood trickle down my cheeks. Terror consumed me. I was certain these were my final moments. Then the back door flew open. My father, roused by my cries, barreled out in his boxers, tackling the intruder and ripping him off me. The man fought like a wild beast, slipping free and bolting toward the tree line. He vaulted the fence in one fluid motion and vanished into the thick woods, branches crashing in his wake until silence returned. We stood panting, staring into the darkness. Blood streamed from deep scratches across my face and neck. Dad rushed me to the ER, nearly running red lights in his panic. Doctors stitched me up, pumped me full of antibiotics and tetanus shots, warning about potential infections from an unknown assailant. Police took a report but offered little hope. Searching miles of dense forest for a naked lunatic was pointless, they said. Later, Dad found fresh gouge marks near the chimney, as if the man had been trying to pry his way into the attic with bare hands. We installed motion lights and cameras after that. Mom was the most shaken. She barely slept for weeks. To this day, I have no idea who he was or why he chose our house. Some nights when the wind rattles the pines, I swear I hear faint scratching overhead, and I wonder if he ever came back. He pennies. Story 2. Picture this. You're home alone with the person you love most, drifting towards sleep in the warm summer darkness, when a soft, persistent tapping begins at your window. Tap, 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 like someone patiently waiting for you to let them in. My name is Lucas Grant. My parents' house in a quiet neighborhood outside Austin, Texas, has always had an unusual layout that guests either loved or found downright bizarre. The front entrance isn't a simple door under a porch. It's recessed, creating a narrow outdoor corridor between two wings of the house. My ground floor bedroom sits right alongside that corridor, meaning if I part the curtains beside my bed, I have a perfect side view of anyone standing at the front door, though they'd never know I was watching. I'd used that vantage point since I was a kid, peeking at delivery drivers or visitors before deciding whether to answer. It felt like my own private security feed. Last June, while my parents were away on a cruise, I invited my girlfriend Mia to stay for a few days. They're old school and wouldn't normally approve of us sharing a bed under their roof, but absence made discretion easy. We spent lazy days by the pool, grilling and binge-watching shows. Simple, perfect couple time. The first night passed peacefully. The second, around midnight, we were whispering in the dark, limbs tangled, when a strange noise drifted in from outside. A metallic screech, like something heavy dragging across concrete. I hushed Mia and listened. It was coming from the driveway beside the garage, our trash bins being shifted. Raccoons, almost certainly. They'd raided our cans before. Not wanting Mia to worry, I told her I'd scare off whatever critter was rummaging and slipped out of bed. I flipped on the exterior lights, dim glow across the lawn, nothing useful for the driveway. Then stepped onto the covered walkway. Silence. No skittering paws, no clatter of lids. Unease prickled my skin, but I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and crept down the steps. Sure enough, one bin lay toppled, garbage strewn across the pavement. I sighed, scanned the shadows for glowing eyes, saw nothing, and started cleaning up the mess. Once everything was back in the garage and locked tight, I returned to bed. Mia was half asleep. I kissed her temple and settled in, letting exhaustion pull me under. I hovered in that hazy space between wakefulness and dreams when another sound pierced the fog. Gentle, rhythmic tapping. Metal on glass. At first I thought it was part of a dream, but the unease grew until I forced my eyes open. The tapping continued, soft but insistent, coming from right outside my window. Heart pounding, I eased out of bed and carefully lifted the curtain's edge. In the faint glow of the streetlight filtering through the corridor, I saw him, a figure standing at the front door, back to me, raising one hand again and again to lightly rap on the glass pane beside the knob. No ringing the bell, no knocking hard, just patient, eerie taps, as if he knew someone was home and was waiting for us to answer. It was well past midnight. Every light in the house was off. No sane person would do this. I watched frozen, trying to make out details. Average height, disheveled hair, wearing dark, ragged clothing. Then slowly he began to turn. Panic surged. I dropped the curtain and ducked, pulse hammering in my ears. I waited, crouched, certain he'd seen the movement. Minutes crawled by. Finally, I couldn't stand it. I had to know. I rose inch by inch and peeled the curtain back again. 2 inches from the glass, a face stared directly at me. Sunken eyes, skin sagging like wet paper, mouth twisted in a vacant grin. I screamed, stumbling backward onto the bed, waking Mia in an instant. She clutched me, terrified, as I babbled about the man outside. I locked the bedroom door, grabbed my phone, and called 911. We stayed barricaded until police arrived. They searched the house and yard, nothing. No footprints, no sign of forced entry, no strange man lurking in the bushes. They suggested it might have been a transient looking for shelter and advised better lighting. The rest of the week was uneventful. When my parents returned, I told them. They shrugged it off. Our area was safe, probably just a confused homeless person. I almost convinced myself I'd overreacted, but then the noises started again. Late at night, faint scrapes outside my window, whispers of movement along the walkway. Dad finally ordered outdoor cameras, but until they arrive, I sleep with the curtain sealed and a bat beside the bed. I can't shake the feeling that he knows exactly which window is mine, and that he'll be back to finish his patient tapping. Story 3. You're alone in your quiet house at 3 a.m., deep in focused work, the world outside silent and still, when suddenly heavy footsteps thunder down your hallway and fists pound your bedroom door like the police raiding a hideout. You wait, heart in your throat, for the inevitable break-in, but nothing happens. And when you finally chase the intruder, there's no one there, and no way they could have gotten in or out. My name is Ryan Keller. I'm 34, single, no pets, living in a modest single-story bungalow on the edge of Tucson, Arizona. My freelance coding work means I set my own hours, and I've always thrived in the stillness of night. Most days I'm up until sunrise, sleeping through the heat of the afternoon. Freedom like that comes at a cost. Irregular habits, occasional loneliness. But I wouldn't trade it. One early autumn night, I was deep in the zone at my desk, headphones off, room bathed only in monitor glow. The house was dead quiet except for the soft click of keys. Then, boom, 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 boom. Footsteps charging down the hallway, ending with violent banging on my bedroom door. The kind of knocks that rattle the frame, meant to intimidate or break through. I leaped up so fast I cracked my knee on the desk and sent my monitor crashing. Shock rooted me in place. In my own home, alone, in the middle of the night. Someone was trying to get in. I stared at the door, expecting it to fly open any second, bracing for a fight in the dark. Seconds stretched into eternity. Nothing. No more banging, no creaking retreat, just silence again. Eventually, faint footsteps padded quickly back down the hall. Rage and terror collided. I snatched the nearest weapon, an empty glass bottle from my desk, and charged after them, screaming obscenities to fuel my courage. I tore through every room, flipping lights, checking closets, under furniture. Nothing. The house was empty. Every door and window was locked from the inside. Deadbolts engaged, windows latched. No broken glass, no forced entry. I retreated to my room, locked the door, and called the police with shaking hands. They arrived, searched, and found exactly what I had. No one, no evidence anyone had ever been there. One officer suggested the intruder slipped out a window I'd forgotten to lock. I knew better. I'm obsessive about security in the desert outskirts where coyotes and drifters roam. But arguing felt pointless. For weeks afterward, I barely functioned. Appetite gone, sleep impossible, concentration shattered. My mind looped endlessly. Hallucination? Burglar with a hidden key? Something worse? I've mostly recovered now, forcing a normal schedule, adding extra locks in a security system. But deep down, I still don't have an explanation that makes sense. Sometimes, working late, I'll hear the faintest creak in the hallway and freeze, waiting for those footsteps to return.